at the results. Team comes together, start putting firewalls in place, assets buying assets, strategies, and you pay a much smaller tax. Let me show you the results. Instead of just paying $300 for your tax return and getting a $16,000 tax bill, imagine you became financially intelligent and you start driving your possibilities. Let's have a look at this. This is if you did nothing. By the time we finished with this guy, we drove his tax bill from 16 to 7.5. Okay? So this guy now gets back from the ATO a check for $8,500. What should we do with that $8,500? Stay with me now. This is very important. What should we do with that $8,500? Now you remember the guy with the personal debt? If you threw $8,500 into your personal debt, what will happen to it? It's not going off interest, it's going off principal. An extra repayment of $8,500 outside of your normal repayments, it goes straight off principal. So you make a dent into that personal debt. And if you kept up the same repayments, you actually speed it up. That is a take control moment. So rather than being hoping for tomorrow I'll get, I would get a better tax return, if you decided to get emotionally involved and become an investor, become financially intelligent, start looking into these things, this could happen every year. And this is what we do for a living. We take one client at a time, a client for life. This is the promise of JDL. One client at a time, a client for life. We have one single purpose, is to make our clients wealthy. How? By teaching them this stuff. And they know it for themselves. Not us trying to flog them something. Let me be very clear on the numbers here, guys. Our strategic value in the life of this person for the first year alone is $8,500 just by resetting a couple of things in the person's life. Do you know what? If this person didn't do anything over the next 4 years, it comes back again and again and again for the next 4 years. Right? Let me show you the other guy. By the time we finished with the business owner, we took him from $32,000 to $8,000. You may think, how? How do you do this? There is no magic. Just make the guy as an investor. Why? Because he can. Because he could. He could for a long time, just did not know. By the time we're finished with this guy, have a look at this, $24,000 better off. I suggest you put that against your personal debt. Oh, what happens when you don't have personal debt anymore? Then you will set out to build a chain reaction with only investment debt. And the truth about that is, as it grows in value, and you get more dividends for your shares, more rent for your properties, more buck for your bond, money makes money. And the debt you have is other people paying for it. And that's the reality that only a few people experience. Why? Because they took the time to understand and implement it. Now let me finish with the doctor. By the time we finish with this guy, first year alone, we drove his tax from $120,000 to $68,000. How do we do that? Well, he could have been a much stronger investor before we showed up. Just never, ever looked into it. You know, it is beautiful. Just the numbers, though. $52,000 better off in the first year, straight off his mortgage. 52. Guess what? Next 4 years, if he doesn't do anything. That's the beauty of setting up right accounting strategies and finance strategies. So guys, what have we done? We moved from accounting to integration, putting it all together rather than just selling somebody commodity. So why is it not working for the average person? No distinctions. That's the inability to move on the right direction. See guys, what is actually happening here tonight is some of these conversations are starting to sink in for you. And it's that because they don't happen at dinner. You're lost. When did you go out to a dinner party and all your guests and everybody else talking, how are we going to make $1 million over the next 12 months? How are we going, what do you know about structuring finance? It doesn't happen. And because finance intelligence doesn't happen, and those so-called professionals, you know, guys, what I would like you to do is to look in the eye of your bank manager and say, how rich are you? right? I want you to look in the eye of your account and say, how wealthy are you? Not so you can judge them. No. The only thing I want you to get here is that not by their fault. They had their mama. So they went and studied really hard and they got the best possible job that they could. And then they too went about this in life. It's when you look into Australia and see what she is, young and vibrant and going places, and you say to yourself, I'm going to own some of her because the Constitution allows me. And then you go about understanding how taxation works, how finance works, and it starts to take hold. And you teach your kids. And I beg you, as you start your own personal chain reaction, take your kids along like my dad did for me and say, son, daughter, we just bought another house. Why? Because we can. Let me keep expanding this for you. I meet people all the time. And what actually happens is people start telling me this story, and then I start looking for the numbers in the story. And if you are just matching your income to your expenses, I'll beg you tonight, on your way home tonight, I want you to stop at an ATM. And I think this is illegal. But nonetheless, here's the story. I want you to go to the ATM, put your card in, pull $600 out, and burn it. Literally. And if your partner's not here tonight, I'll give you the permission to freak them out. Just go home, pull $600 and burn it right in front of them. Because what will happen is this, they're going to think, are you insane? And you say, no, I now see it. We have been doing this from day one. Guys, it's very simple. If you are paying tax because you don't have an investment strategy, you are foregoing. It's called an opportunity cost. And the average person, because of misinformation, it's not just the tax that they are paying, it's the finance that is overloaded. It's the interest upon interest that they should not be paying because they're not conscious about a debt reduction. And not just the debt, the tax and the debt, is also the opportunity cost of not investing. If you could have bought a property investment 10 years ago for $200,000 and you didn't, and now that property will be worth $500,000, you've done your family $300,000 of lost opportunity. You know why I'm using the figures 200, 300? Because this very morning, I had one of my properties valued, and I paid $211,000 for it, and the valuation came in today at $494,000. I don't know how they got the 94. I would have rounded up or down, but that's what it came in. Do you know how much I had to work for that property to go from 211 to almost, guys, I had to do nothing. I just had to put a manager to look after it, collect the rent, and put it in my bank account. No distinctions, does the inability to move in the right direction. Have a guess of the average person's wastage of hard-earned cash per week. You're right. You got it. $600. When you do your financial health check with us, when you get your personal strategy report, we will give you that number. We will tell you straight how much money you'll be wasting. And you will be surprised because it's real. All right? Do you want to keep doing this? And this too be your story. Not interested, huh? So folks, let me show you something else. This is the picture of the most people you know. The average Australian will work for 20 plus years. This is the graph of the typical story. You know what the typical story is? You went and got a job, and then you paid for it. You put a deposit together, and you bought a house, and then the house grew in value, and you put some money in super, and that's you. So if you retired in 22 years, and on the last day of your retirement, the last day of work, you decided to work on 75% of the money that you earned in the last year, you're going to run out of money in 8 years. This is just the numbers. There's no feelings about this. Just the numbers. Now you understand why in poor countries they have so many kids. Yeah, because if you have 5 or 6 kids, you visit this kid on Monday, this one on Tuesday, this one on Wednesday. You got it. This one on Thursday, and then Sunday you go to church. Monday start all over again. But the average family in Australia has 2 kids. So you got Monday and Tuesday covered. See, guys, when an individual comes and they do their financial health check, they get conscious that they have never looked at their numbers. And for the very first time, they sit down with the client manager and they do the financial health check. And they get present. And they see this. This is what they're tracking for. But let me show you something else. When we ask the particular client, how much can you save a week? And this client said, we can save $200 a week. Got it. So he says, as of today, you put $200 a week. Your financial health check actually says you could actually buy a property investment right now. And some other investments. No, yeah. As a matter of fact, you could have done it some time ago. $100 a week. This particular couple here, they said $200. Now check them out. This is them not knowing. Let's just make some assumption. They're going to work for the next 22 years. Now they know it. And they not only know that they can, but they understand it's a system. So tonight, they go, okay, I can lock in on a property investment and I can bring in some shares. Let's start tracking. And then check this out. Within 3 years, they can buy another one. Why? Because now they can borrow against that property investment and a few other numbers that took place over the next 3 years and do it again. So they do it again. Why? Because they can. And then guess what? 3, 4 years after that, they can do it again. They can borrow against the first property investments and buy another one. And then buy against the 3 and buy another one. That's why we call it chain reaction. Not only the property is growing in value, but also we are putting the firewalls between them, and we are also buying all the other types of investments. In that meeting, the wife said, oh, by the way, that takes them to $9 million